What cheer, y'all? Welcome back to Red at the Wire. Well, happy 4th of July to all of you on America's birthday. Hope it's a safe and pleasant one for you. We have got a late pick five at Saratoga on the 4th of July, and I think that's a natural that we take a look at. The first race is a maiden special weight. It's 100,000. Seventh race on the card at 6.5 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. And the usual suspects are here: Todd Pletcher, Chad Brown, Bill Mott. And they're going to basically control this race, I think. We are going to go pretty deep in it. I like Subito, which is a first time starter for Bill Mott. Now, obviously, Bill Mott is not the greatest with first time starters on occasion, but you also don't see a Bill Mott trainee throw bullets out there. And this one has thrown a couple of pretty impressive works. And I'm gonna put on top. We're gonna spread in this race, and you'll see why as we go later into the sequence. Bill Mott has another one, Fort Nelson, who hasn't run in quite some time, and but it's the second start. It's been quite a layoff. A lot of things can change since then, so we'll throw in the mix. Worthy Charge was another one that, and Shadow Banking are both believed for Chad Brown. They both look pretty good. Shadow Banking is a late runner and probably is going to be pretty prominent in this race. I don't imagine that Shadow Banking will still be that far back. Will probably be likely more prominent, more forwardly placed in the second start, and looks like a natural for Claridge Stables. It's Saratoga's Chad Brown, so Flavian Pratt, pretty obvious. Then we'll throw in Rebellious Type, another one that looks pretty promising. Certainly, he's wide open in these maiden races, and so because of the nature of the sequence, we're going to be able to include quite a bit. But we'll throw Rebellious Type in on the outside. You know, not having the problems that Apalta for Todd Pletcher is going to have in on the rail. That's really the only reason we're excluding just a rail for a first-time starter. But I think we got plenty of options in this one, and but this will kick off the sequence, and we'll go with Subito, the first-time starter for Bill Mott. The Manila Grade 3 is the second race in the sequence. It's the eighth race on the card, running a mile on the inner turf for 3-year-olds. And Zulu Kingdom's the star of the show here. I mean, he's just been a consistently good performer. Mile distance is perfect for him. Really no knocks on the form whatsoever. This is a big field, but I really just think Zulu Kingdom is the class of the field. Should be just sitting off the leaders. Again, you have a situation. You've got quite a few later runners. And you got a couple who run on the lead who I'm not really worried about too much. Uncatalyzed for Chad Brown. As you know, most of you do. I don't like taking maidens moving into the stakes ranks, and I don't see enough there to get really excited about, particularly since it just, anyway, I just don't. Golden Channel either. I just don't think much of them. I like Maui Strong as a horse. Dale Romans always loves to come up to Saratoga, and the boss is a real good man if you ever get a chance to talk to him. Maui Strong is a horse I've always liked. This one seems to bring it every time. I don't know that the top end is there to get over the top, but this is certainly a horse you want to use in your gimmicks, without a doubt. Should be prominent tracking, and always seems to be a little lacking late to have that extra kick to get it done. But I think it's one that can hang in here, and I would definitely use in that regard. Flat to the Mat is another one I think is looks to be progressing, and I like to see Dylan Davis aboard. I think that's a big time plus. Dylan Davis has ridden a couple of the others here, and he chose Flat to the Mat. So to me, that's enough. And I'm kind of playing jockey roulette here. I've noticed a few of the horses. Their more prominent jockey has chosen to go elsewhere or on another mount, so that's kind of the case with Flat to the Mat. Junior Alvarado's not on the Bill Mott, Capitol Hill, that type of thing. So it's, they're 3-year-olds on the turf, so anything can happen. But this one looks to have a good upside, and again, I don't know that it's good enough to win this, but one certainly you can use underneath. Now let's talk about Reagan's Wit. Cherie DeVoe certainly is, and Jose Ortiz. When you see that combination, obviously you got to take them very seriously. But here's the thing with Reagan's Wit. This horse scratched out of the last turf race we covered to run in this one, and that usually would be a pretty good sign. But the thing is, with Reagan's Wit, you look at those last three, and won the last race pretty handily, which was an ungraded stakes, but go back to that grade 3, and really wasn't much in the way of a threat, and finished kind of a dull fourth. I don't think this horse is maybe a graded stakes type of horse, and Zulu Kingdom has proven that he is. So the price is going to be artificially short, in my opinion. Reagan's Wit's a nice horse, and certainly I think you can use in the mix underneath. But I just don't see where he's good enough to beat Zulu Kingdom. Revolutionaire from Miguel Clement. Nice to see him doing well following his father's passing, and he certainly picked up where he left off. Christophe was a great turf trainer, and Miguel is turning out to be a pretty good one himself. Revolutionaire, just watching. I think this is a horse will close into the pace, but I didn't. The last couple. Is probably good enough to get in the money, but that's about it. I just don't see that. You guys have heard me talk about it, that electric kick I like to see. Just seems to be one that kind of keeps running, so maybe a mile is a little on the short side, but I think you can comfortably use Revolutionaire underneath, and that's what the asterisk means. But we're going to go with the chalk here, Zulu Kingdom in the Manila. The Belmont Derby is the third leg in the Pick 5. It's a grade 1, ninth race on the card, running a mile and an eighth on the turf for 3-year-olds. Pretty interesting race. There's no speed in this race, save for one, and that's Tank. Now, Tank is, I'm not going to argue, is the best horse in this race, because he's not. But what I am going to say is he's on an upward progression. Coming from Gulfstream, a little questionable, sometimes the Gulfstream turf form, but in a not surprising last time, has been running on the lead, and took him all the way and improved his speed figure for the third consecutive race. So this is a horse who's definitely progressing and is literally going to have, I don't think, any challenge for the lead on the front end. You look at all the closers. And Luther probably ought to be one of them as well. Tescore is really going to be the only one hanging out. Flying Mohawk has scratched. I believe he's got cholera, I think was the diagnosis, but he's out of the race. That's a shame, because I would have loved to have thrown him in the mix here. I thought he'd have a really good chance. But without him, really Tescore is the only one who's going to stay within marching distance of Tank, I think. Tescore is a horse who seems to be, I didn't necessarily think a whole lot of him a couple back, but he continues to be, to run well and run better. Got a second to Zulu Kingdom, which is no slouch on Derby Day. And I think tactically he's just going to be in a better position. As I've said before, I don't like races where you have a lot of closers because of the traffic issues that potentially come up. And it just seems to be a very difficult type of scenario. And it looks to me like, if you can think of a pyramid with Tank at the top and then all the closers down at the bottom at the widest end. So test scores would be logical in here, but I'm not sure test scores got another jump in them. That's really the only issue I have. And if that's the case, then Tank just logically will have a bit of an advantage tactically over the rest of the field, being the lone speed. And so we're going to go with him to go all the way. Now, Luther is in this race. I don't really necessarily think it sets up that great for Luther, because if you read the running lines, this horse always is at the back and a lot of times breaks slowly. But note that Charlie Fellows brought Kieran Schumark, his regular jockey, in for this race. That has to mean something. And I think on a class level, he's run against some pretty damn good horses. Henri Matisse, Camille Pissarro. So he's had, I think he has maybe a little bit of a class edge. Again, I think the race shape is a little bit against him, but of the later runners, I think you'd have to give him the nod as being a little more up to the task than perhaps the others and a little classier. Looking at the rest of the later runners, it's a mixed bag. You could really use any of them, I suppose, for underneath. I don't like early adopter. I know it's Chad Brown at Saratoga and all Jose Ortiz and all that, but this horse just hasn't demonstrated really any good turn of foot late. He just seems to take a long time to get going, and I just don't like the way he runs really more than anything else. That said, with a layoff, we know what Chad Brown can do, and perhaps this one will be rejuvenated at the spa, but for me, I'm going to have to watch it first, so I'm going to let him go. New Century, to me, I don't know how much this horse has gotten any better. He seems to be pretty much the same horse he was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. And his last race, I didn't really particularly care for, and I just don't think he's really progressed a whole lot. And we expect better from horses who have run at the class level he did at 2 years old. So you can use him, but I think the price will be short, and for that reason, in this race, I really don't want any part of him. Final Gambit, excuse me, is certainly a horse on everybody's lips. Fourth in the Kentucky Derby, on dirt, first time, and you run back in the Matt Winn. Did not run a good race for fourth in that race, and so they're moving him back to turf, and I think maybe the dirt experiment might be over for now, and he's back on a preferred surface. We know what he can do, but again, this is another horse who comes from the clouds, and I don't suggest that he can't factor in this race, but I just think the race shape isn't in his favor, and again, I really didn't like that last race, so you can use him, but again, I think the price is going to be short, and for that reason, I don't really want him. I'm going to take World Beater as a late runner I'm going to use because he's on an upward trend. He is progressing. I don't know class-wise if necessarily he fits within this group, but you can't tell me that he's really any better or worse than New Century or Final Gambit, to be honest, at this stage of the year. It may be different at the end of the year. So right now, I'll take the horse on the upward trend, and that's World Beater. I think it's always a good sign when you see a horse leave the maiden ranks, go right into a stakes race, and perform well, and in fact win. So that, to me, speaks to some quality, and for that reason, I think that maybe another step forward is in World Beater's future. And so, at a price, more than likely, we'll take World Beater to use. So, Tank is going to be my primary selection. Again, based upon race shape more than anything else in the Belmont Derby, but I would say probably Test Score looms a really close second, and then we will use Luther and World Beater in the Belmont Derby. The featured race on the card on the 4th of July at Saratoga is the Suburban Stakes. Used to be the Suburban Handicap for quite a few years. It's Grade 2, 10th race on the card, running 1.25 miles for 4-year-olds and up. This, to me, is a field with, you got a lot of names that are familiar, but you've also got a lot of horses that got hair on them, that aren't in the greatest of form. Disarm, in particular, Ben Duke, Honor Marie. I just don't think this race is long enough for Honor Marie. Honor Marie needs like 2 miles. The horse just, will keep running, but that's the extent of it. Just hasn't since prior to the Derby really hasn't built on that form, and I just don't like here for those who are wondering about it. Philly's Fog is likely going to be the lone speed, and this is a horse that just keeps outrunning his pedigree and is in really good form right now. Likely to be the lone speed, and I think for that perspective is going to be extremely dangerous when you consider the other runners like Antiquarian, for instance. I don't know how Antiquarian didn't win his last race. I really just don't. I mean, losing to Mystic Dan, okay, but had every chance to win it. Antiquarian is a horse that certainly 1.25 miles is a good fit for, without a doubt. But this is one that, you see horses like this, the races never seem to be long enough for. I don't see that real explosion, that type of big finish that is necessary for these type of races, I think Antiquarian will keep running, and if you want to use underneath, I think certainly Antiquarian is a good use there. But as far as having that finishing kick to get it done, I don't know. Phileas Fogg to me again is the lone speed. I think because of that, because you don't have any of those runners like most of the ones who are going to be up amongst the leaders, they're not ones that have that really killer late kick. So that allows Phileas Fogg probably to build some headway going into the stretch, and could very well with you know certainly a lot of things have to work right, but if you can set reasonable fractions, particularly when who is going to be coming late, maybe has a shot at it at a price. San Siro is a horse that seems to be coming into decent form, and for that reason, more than anything else, that I think, like I said, a lot of these horses aren't in the greatest of form. So I'm going to throw San Siro in. You're going to get a nice price, likely to get into the exotics. Locked is the pick to win it because I've always loved this horse. This horse likes Saratoga. I think a mile and a quarter is a good distance for this one. I'm a little concerned that there isn't enough pace to run to, but the thinking is that this horse just can outclass them, and I really think that's the issue more than anything else. I mean, Locke's a Grade 1 horse, and I really don't see a Grade 1 horse in there to challenge, and that's what it comes down to. So we're going to go with Locked. Hopefully can get it going maybe a little earlier than normal, and which is entirely possible. The horses that get older, they start improving. They can get a little closer to the pace, and I just think this horse is good enough, especially on a track that he loves, to take down the Suburban. So Locked in the Suburban Stakes. The final leg of the 4th of July late pick 5 is the Harvey Pack. It's ungraded at 150,000, 11th race on the card. Run at 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. This is a race that really, I don't think has a terribly much speed. Surveillance really hasn't been in very good form lately. This is a nice horse, but he is getting up there in age, and I don't know that he's terribly reliable to get the job done. So it to me it looks like a race that maybe I mean I don't know that anybody who that there's anybody who can wire the field here, but I'm really going more than anything else with horses that are in good form, and really I'm going to pick Works for Me here, and mainly because I think this one has the most upside. He's coming into this race third off the layoff. The last in an optional claimer did lose the head bob to Felix, but I like the turn of foot, and to me, watching the race prior to that, it looks like Works for Me is really heading in the right direction, and I think he's sitting on a big one here at 4 years old. Should be sitting just off whoever takes the lead. If it's not Surveillance, perhaps Mattingly, or maybe even Felix or American Monarch. But I think that he's just in the best form and has the most upside, and that's really what I'm going with. Mischievous Angel is a hard knocker who always seems to be in the mix, and I think is one you certainly can use in this spot. While I'm not really overly confident as a win candidate. And then we have our two closers, and obviously without a lot of pace, particularly in a 5.5 furlong race, they kind of up against it a little bit. But again, they're in good form. Axdome, Safi Joseph has definitely been had a better record at Saratoga than he has in the past, and I don't think that's really an issue as much as it is in Kentucky. So I would expect with Jose Ortiz aboard that they're expecting a pretty good race from Axdome. So we'll throw him in the mix again, but not a lot of pace to run to. Witty as well is a very solid horse, a good performer, and the only disadvantage is coming from off the pace. But this race is filled with a lot of horses who aren't necessarily in their best form coming into this race. So let's go with one that class-wise I think is a really good fit. But we're going to go with Works for Me in the Harvey Pack. So let's take a look at our ticket, and as you can see, we've got a couple of singles. We're not going to try to beat Zulu Kingdom in the eighth race, and we're not going to try to beat Locked in the Suburban. We're going to single both. So that's going to allow us to spread on the other races. In particular, in the seventh to lead off the sequence, we can go five deep. We're going to go 2, 4, 5, 6, and 9. We'll single Zulu Kingdom in the eighth. In the ninth, we'll spread again. We're going to go with Tank out front to without a lot of challengers to try to wire the field in the ninth, but we'll also add 3, 5, and 7. We'll single Locked in the Suburban, and then in the final leg in the Harvey Pack, I think the 6 is a pretty strong win candidate, but we'll add in the 1 and the 10 as well, and it's a field that's kind of sagging. I think there's a lot of horses in are pretty vulnerable, but works for me certainly is the one that looks in the best form. So that is a 5 times 4 times 3. That's a $60 ticket on a $1 base, and I think that gives us a pretty good shot to take down a sequence on America's birthday. Hope this analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. I wish you the best of luck as always. I know this is going to be posted a little late, and I apologize for that, but we've had some power issues following a pretty big thunderstorm. So I don't. Internet has been not available, but like I say, we'll get this out to you as soon as possible. And again, thank you for your patience. If you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And again, thanks to all of you who stay within our community and continue to grow it and make it a strong one. We're going to continue with Saratoga all the way through the meet, so you can rest assured you'll have plenty of content there, as well as Del Mar and the Haskell and all the pertinent stakes races that come across as we move to the second half of the thoroughbred racing season. So that's it from here. Oh, and incidentally, I will be at Saratoga on the 4th of July. So if you plan on being there and you see me, hard to miss, stop by, say hello. Maybe we'll have a cocktail or a cigar. Love to talk some horse racing with guys who have been so nice to me and been part of my community. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon. Have a safe and happy holiday, most importantly, and be well.